So moving ahead, so these are the last two levels. Fifth level we can say is a evaluate level, that is judge value based on criteria, and mainly as I told, strong decision making is involved here. So assess, contrast, conclude, evaluate, these are certain action verbs. Let us see what is the example. Now there is a possibility that if there is one system given to you, one function given to you, it can be implemented using simple basic gates, it can be implemented using maybe a MSI device, maybe a decoder, or maybe higher level IC. Now which is the best method? If you select one method, what are advantages of that method, what are pros, what are cons, all these things need to be analyzed, has to be done at this level. So compare and contrast two methods for implementing given function. Now please remember that there is always one question in our paper, that is distinguish between. When we say that distinguish between, it does not fall in this category, because here for comparing and contrast, students will select what is the performance criteria. So the criteria decision is from the student side, as well as related to this criteria, what are pros and what are the cons of that method, that is also decided by students. So you are preparing student for higher level when we keep this. So when we say that we are writing learning objective at this level, these are all things are expected from student. They need to think of what is the criteria, they need to come up with the comparing and contrasting methods, pros, cons analysis, so on and so forth. And they should even able to justify why they have selected this criteria and which one is the best method, why it is the best method, so on and so forth. So this is what we are trying to prepare student at little bit higher level, that is the higher level of Bloom. So these are actually higher order thinking skills, right from analyze onwards. Analyze, then this is evaluate, and the last level is a create. Now create is the generating new ideas or products or new ways, that is you know one method, but is there any another method, new innovative method to solve same problem. So if students, if you try to prepare student for such things, then it is the last level of Bloom, that is the create level. So what are the action verbs? Design, combine, devise, modify, plan. These are the action verbs. So now mission or the learning objective for this, student will able to design a counter or a state machine for a given situation. So what is done is they have given all idea, that is throughout the course you are teaching them basic gates, you are teaching them truth tables, then you slightly at the higher topics, higher level topics, what you will do is you will teach them how to integrate these gates and come up with few applications. Now once they are familiar with the application, now what you are trying to do is you will give them a new situation, and now you will tell them that now look, it is already all foundation is done, now go ahead and design a system for a given situation. So state machine or a counter is based on the application. It is not that design 6-bit counter, design 4-bit counter, that won't fall under this category. When you say a design a counter or a state machine, means suppose you give them a coin vending machine or coffee vending machine, and you will say that now design a system using gates, using decoders, using multiplexers to implement this system. So when your target is this, that is you want to teach them open designs, then your learning objective will fall at this level. So this is the highest level. Here you can see that the criteria is decided by student, then circuits are decided by student, evaluation is decided by student, and finally they will come up with certain product. So this is what is the last level or the design level. Now coming back to the activity, multiple choice question is posed to you, will be posed to you, and you will vote. So here is the question, read question carefully and vote. Let us analyze this. What is given here is faculty is in the last session of the course and very enthusiastic plan is there. She thinks that I have taught everything, now let us see whether student can solve this complex problem. And she just describes what is traffic light controller, and now she wants that student should able to design this traffic light controller. So, but obvious that the learning objective should be at the design level, not at the evaluate level, because expected things are student will be at the end of the session, student will be able to design traffic light controller using logic gates. So, this should be the learning objective for a given session. Now coming to the activity. These are the last two levels of Bloom's. So now in a course, definitely it is not possible in all topics in a course. There may be few topics wherein you can write such learning objective, or it may be possible that even within your course there may not be scope to write these two learning objectives, because it may be at the very basic level or introductory level. So if you want to write learning objective at this level, even at the basic topic, what can you write? So please try to write this learning objectives at evaluate, one at evaluate level and one at create level. In order to summarize, there are, I will just put this last slide of Bloom's, wherein these are the 6 levels. We start from recall level, we go to create level. Recall is the basic first level wherein you are doing lot of handholding, you are teaching students, they are just recollecting and reproducing. Wherein the create level is a totally open-ended level, wherein you are now expecting students that they should integrate everything and come up with their own product. So this is what is we normally expect in a final year of the engineering, wherein they do project. They have to integrate everything and come up with an open-ended project or application based project. So this is how you can set up different cognitive levels.
Okay, so today's session on learning objectives was a continuation of yesterday when you wrote 1 or 2 simple ones, and today you learned how to write it at different levels of the hierarchy. And the other important takeaway from the slide, which is up here, is that the higher levels are written in such a way that they subsume the lower levels. So Madhuri has spent a lot of time explaining that when we expect students to do design level or evaluate level, it means that we also expect them to know the definition and to be able to give examples and solve problems and so on. That's why often we put these higher level learning objectives and corresponding assessment questions towards, say, the latter half of the course or in the upper level courses and so on. So these learning objectives really form the backbone of all our teaching and learning, because when we have to decide what strategy to use in class or what exam questions to give, we have to come back to this. And as we discussed in the Q&A session yesterday, this is not different or separate from the syllabus. In fact, this is really together, you have to treat this together with the syllabus. The syllabus talks about the topics in isolation, and I mean, they talk only of the topics and the content. This one gives more information as to what depth we expect students to learn the topic, what depth they should expect to answer assessment questions, exam questions, and so on. So we'll continue this along with ET tools in a few more sessions. We'll learn about a technique called concept mapping and the corresponding technology tool. There are several tools also to create concept maps. And what we'll do is use the concept map tool to create a map of your entire course and see how the learning objectives fit at the different levels. So most of what you've written now are objectives at the topic level. Say something that you'll use for one class or at most 2 classes. But for your entire course, for your entire 40-hour semester or year, there will be a few objectives, again of the order of 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 6. So how are the two connected and all? That's what we'll begin with in the next session. And tomorrow we will look at how to write exam questions that directly address each of these objectives.